You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of land and waters that this podcast is recorded on.
If you're missing your weekly Out Loud routine over the break, we wanted to let you know that we are still dropping episodes for Mamamia subscribers. So you can get full access to Out Loud, including the back catalogue of over 150 subscriber-only episodes. Subscribe to Mamamia via the link in the episode description.
I would like us all to go around the table and say something we want to let go of. Only one word.
Otherwise, we would be here all night.
Exactly. So one word and no repeats. So if somebody says your word, you have to think of something else. Those are the rules.
Hello, Out Louders, and Happy New Year to you all. I'm Holly Wainwright.
I'm Mia Freedman.
I'm Jessie Stevens.
Happy New Year.
And no, I got a message saying that I go to upward inflection when I say Jessie Stevens, and I've been trying to experiment with it, and I can't.
So you go Jessie Stevens.
No, she goes, I'm Jessie Stevens.
I think I do that, but I don't know how to do I'm Jessie Stevens.
Yeah,
Is that better?
Like a newsreader.
I'm Jessie Stevens.
Holly Wainwright.
I'm Mia Freedman.
Right, now we're
Okay,
all
all
very
right, that's
serious.
new me, new year.
We've set the tone for 2024.
Our word of the year is intonation. It's very exciting, Out Louders.
If you are a regular Out Louder, you know what we're doing here today. Because on the first day of every year, we gather together and we share a word. Now, if you are new here, welcome. There are no strangers here, only friends we haven't met yet. I'll give you a little bit of background about what we do. Word of the Year is something that we started, I don't know, about 7 years ago.
At least.
At least. It was Mia's idea, I think.
No, I stole it from someone else that I saw on social media.
We stole it from someone who we're not sure who it was, but thank you. And basically the idea is, sometimes New Year's resolutions can be like punitive, limiting.
Yeah.
A little bit like a stick to beat yourself with.
Yeah, they can be
You have to give something up.
Yeah, or start doing something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And we decided that choosing a word is a better vibe. Because what do we use our word for, Mia?
About intention. So it's a bit like putting it in your sat-nav. With a New Year's resolution, you can fail. But with a word of the year, you can't fail because it's just you just sort of come back to it. It's something that you'd like to prioritise a little bit more.
It's your filter. It is your North Star. It is your guiding light of the year. I
Listen to someone who thinks they nailed their word of the year this year.
Yeah.
Guiding
I
light
said
over here.
before birth, I sat down with Luca to do this episode about birth, and I gave myself 3 words for my birth. Like intentions, because you can't fail at a word.
What were they?
Oh, look, they were pretty naive, actually. I think I did fail at them a little bit. They were like excitement, joy,
Adventure.
fun. They were my words. So, for example,
How about Delulu?
Delulu.
Ever since you introduced me to Delulu, Mia, which Out Louders, if you don't know, it's like young person speak for delusional.
Yeah.
My daughter's calling me Delulu nearly every day.
Yeah.
Nearly every
Comes
day.
up a lot, doesn't it?
It does. Anyway, Delulu is not my word for the year, although maybe it should be or should have been for this past one. Before we reveal our words for 2024, we're going to talk about what our words for 2023 were. And then we will listen to some of your words and then we'll get to ours. So, Mia Freedman, last year we had an unprecedented situation where both you and Jessie had the same. By the way, Out Louders, just so you know, we do not know each other's words. We come into the studio. It's very secretive. We just reveal them during this recording. And that's what we did last year. And these two had the same word. Mia Freedman, what was your word for 2023?
Family.
Do you think you succeeded?
And
We had a baby, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
so that was cheating because you outsourced your word to Jessie.
Yeah, and I already knew that Jessie was pregnant. Did you reveal it in that
Yes,
episode?
I did. My word is family. Like, mum and dad are fine. You're fine.
Mostly.
Is she though?
And you will become family. But my word is family because I'm pregnant.
I thought your word was going to be baby or pregnant. So I knew Jessie was pregnant and I knew you'd be getting married. So it's so funny how Jessie pretty much chose my word for me in 2023. It wasn't just that though. I wanted to prioritise it because my daughter was doing her HSC. It was her last year of school. You know, work takes up so much of my life and my heart and my head and my time that I really wanted to try and redraw some of my priorities and just have a little more focus and lean in a little more.
I'm looking at Mia with eyes like this because it's been a busy year on the work front for you.
It's been a busy year on the work front, but it's been more of a busy year on the home front, and it's been a tumultuous year. Like on the last show of the year, we talked about our highs and lows of the year, and Out Loud, as you can go back and listen to that, where I spoke about how the intensity of the happiest times have also been my most challenging times emotionally, with Luna, with Luca's wedding, which was coincidentally also Jessie's wedding on the same day, and Coco leaving school. And so all of these things, which were wonderful things, as they do, none of them were happening to me directly. So there were knock-on effects for all of them, which were really challenging. So I mean, I didn't have to do anything to nail family, but it was certainly the focal point of my year.
Absolutely.
Jessie, your word was the same.
It was.
I feel like you have nailed that because you had a baby.
Yep.
And you've spent a lot of time with the baby.
I have spent a lot of time with the baby.
Maybe not a lot.
A lot of time with that baby. I think that the biggest surprise has been that when I said family, I didn't realise how fun it would be. I think I was sort of looking at it, you can do really exciting, glittery, like, ooh, look at this exciting thing I want to do. And then you look at family and you're like, I really should,
yeah.
There's something a bit shouldy about it.
Like obligatory.
Yeah, but I didn't expect it to be this great and something that like pulls me like a magnet. That I've really, really enjoyed. And even, Luca and I being parents, I mean, the whole dynamic of that changes and you really, really feel like a family. And prioritising, seeing, I think that it changes as well when you've got a baby and, it's so important for both sides of the family to see that child all the time. So making sure that we integrate that into our lives has been really, really important. So I think it has been. I feel as though this year has been. I think I failed in the first half and I came good in the second half.
Has this been, Jessie Stevens, the best year of your life?
Yes. So, so, so good. Yeah, it's funny. I think I spent the first half so scared and then the second half just loving every minute. I failed at all priorities in the first half and I suffered for that.
What do you mean?
Like I think I see people do it now and I don't think there's any solving it. I think it's what women do, but they feel like it's just you're at a marathon and you're running towards like getting all this career stuff done thinking that you're never going to work again, which is now it's funny because I hear other people say that and I feel offended, which I think you two felt, which was sort of like,
yes.
Have you not seen our careers?
Exactly.
We're fine. But there's a weird thing that when you're in that situation, you feel like you'll be different. You won't be able to do it. I think.
So you mean you thought that your career was going to stop when you had a baby and so you were sprinting
to get everything done.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think, I don't know, my brain wouldn't work. I don't know what I was so afraid of.
You'd be irrelevant and no one
That's
would
the
be interested
unknown.
in you anymore.
Yeah. I'd find it all too hard. I wouldn't be sleeping. It'd be hell. Like I had prepared myself for that because I'm an absolute pessimist and been so pleasantly surprised. So it's weird. A lot of people say newborn first 6 weeks, hardest of their lives, and I totally understand why. But the first 6 months of this year were the hardest 6 months of my life.
When you were pregnant?
Pregnancy way, way, way harder. And I know that's the case for a lot of people too. And telling them that it's only going to get harder isn't very helpful.
Fun, is it? When everybody's like, sleep now. And you're like, yeah, well, I would if I could.
If I could.
I've forgotten what your word of the year was.
Look, I don't really want to talk about it because you two have nailed your words of the year and I've fucked mine.
Have you?
Yeah. My word of the year this year was quality. I was making a shift in my work, which I did, to do less better.
I think you have done that.
I have not done that.
Oh, I really think you have.
I have not. I like that you think that for me.
No, definitely.
It depends what your definition
So
is.
I think what I was thinking is that
You were talking about books and you were
I've
talking
been
about
writing a book
writing.
this year, which I've nearly, hopefully as you're listening to this, I've nearly finished. And in my head, I'm like, I'm going to write this book differently. I'm going to do it differently. And everything I put out into the world, I want it to be really amazing and all that. And like, look, that's not how the world works. Last year was really, really busy, just in different ways, as things always are. Like I think you think that there's like all this time that can be accessed somehow.
And
Other
it's
things
never
just
there.
rush in to fill it, don't
Yes.
they? Yeah.
And
Before you can reallocate
exactly.
that time.
And I've had a lot to do. And then also I think I just have to face the fact who I am and what I am like and the way that I work and the way my brain works. I'm just not that person. I'm just not the person who can evenly spread
No.
like my work in this like manageable way into these particular allotted hours. I mean, I have given myself a bit more time with this book than I did with the last ones, but I can't get into it until the end is looming. Like literally.
Yeah, until you have a
It's who I
deadline.
am.
Yeah.
It's who
It's
I am.
who
And
I am too.
I've been fighting
Yeah,
it and fighting it and trying to find ways around it. And I just think there's an element of self-acceptance that I need to just butt up against and go,
Do you fantasize
Just who
too that
you
one
are.
year there's going to be a writer's retreat and you're going to disappear for 3 weeks into the woods and then you're just going to write this masterpiece and everything's going to be, time is going to slow down while you write. And it just doesn't happen like that. Ultimately, you are in bed or on the couch with bad posture.
just like writing,
yeah.
writing. And I've said this before, but I think it's true. I think probably a whole career spent working to deadline messes with your brain chemistry to a point where like I can't, like I've got friends. I've got a friend who's an artist. He'll have a deadline and he'll go, as soon as I get the commission, I do the job. Like,
Oh,
and I might
what's
hand it, I might
that?
hand it in like 4 months before it's due. And like my brain does not understand that. Like I do not understand that. If I've got a story to write for the site today, I'll write it today. And if I write a story today and the editors say, we're holding it for 3 days, I'm like, what?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
I find that offensive.
I don't,
Yeah.
my
If I knew
brain
I had
doesn't
3
work.
days, I would have done it now before it was due and cried.
It's like when someone says, can you email me that thing by Friday? And you email them that thing by Friday and they go, great, I'll get back to you about it next week. And you're like, I could have given it to you on Monday. Like every minute to the last finish line. And I think that's just who I am.
I'm going to say a couple of things about that. The first is that I think that your definition of quality, I think you've taken it to mean slower. And I don't think that necessarily
Maybe
is
not.
the case. I've watched you write a number of books, all of which have been bestsellers, and I've watched you write each one in a different way. You've never found this mythical, perfect way. It's always a scramble at the end. And I think that what you have to do now, listen to me, is just say, accept, like what you're saying, accept that that is your process. And that part of the magic of your writing is necessitates the deadline. You need the
Energy.
adrenaline and the fear,
Yeah.
which a long deadline just doesn't give you. And I don't think writing something slowly or in a more organised time portioned
Necessarily
way
makes it better.
necessarily makes it better.
But don't you think, like, I think this too, not just about books, but like obviously when I'm writing pieces for Mamamia, which I care about so much, sometimes I'm like, you know what, I mean, it would be better if there was more time, but I just don't think that's who I am. So I feel like I've failed at my quality, but that's okay because I've learned some lessons along the way.
Yes.
Let's find out what some of the out louders are choosing for their word for the year of 2024 before we get to it.
My word for 2024 is serendipity, because honestly, if I could just have one serendipitous moment in 2024, it'll make up for all the bullshit that has been this year and recent years, all the bad luck. So serendipity is my word for 2024. Here's hoping.
My name is Laura, and my word for 2024 is light, because I feel like I'm finally ready to let go of some heavy stuff that I've been carrying around, and it feels like stepping into the daylight of a new morning.
My 2024 word of the year is boundary. I think in 2023, I talked a big game about having boundaries, setting boundaries, and being proud of my boundaries, but talking about them and implementing them are such different things. I was made to have to stand on my word and stand on my boundaries, and it was so much harder to do than I thought, but I'm so glad that I did. There was a lot of really big highs and also lows that came from that, but it really made me back myself.
I've been thinking of my word. The phrase that has stuck with me is let them. And I didn't realise how much that phrase hit home for me. I'm a type A person. I like control and everything that comes with that. I'm the organiser. I work myself up into a tiz quite often. I have 2 kids and a 10-month-old. I'm about to head back to work next year, teaching full-time, which is scary. So I'm going to try and think, let them look after my children without the 5 pages of notes and schedules and the mental labour that goes with that. Just let them. I'm just going to have to roll with the punches next year.
I love that.
That's good.
Oh, there's some great inspo there. I'm having a moment where I'm like, should I change my word?
Regret. All right, I'm thinking that Jessie Stevens should go first. She seems the most certain.
No, I'm not the most certain because I know that you guys are going to hate my word.
I think
so interesting.
I don't think Mia's
I
gonna
think
like
you're
my
going
word.
to...
The only time I've ever hated someone's word is when Holly decided to have a paragraph,
Yes.
which was against every rule that we didn't think we needed to have because it is word of the year.
Yeah.
We didn't think we needed to have a disclaimer, but now very clear.
I will say that
One
my
word.
word, I didn't choose my word chose me.
Okay.
It came to me from the sky and it said, Jessie, this is your guiding light for 2024. And the word is kind. This is why I've chosen this. The first one is...
Don't hate it, first of all.
Okay, I thought you would think it's a little bit kind of sappy and naff.
Excuse me.
Because
you thought I would hate the word
because
kind.
you're a cow, so I
It's
thought
very troubling to
because
me.
you're such a bitch, you would be like, my word is bitch.
exactly.
No.
My word is hate.
I think Mia's word is bitch. That would be great.
But I actually want to be a good person, which is so hard in this environment. But the reason I chose kind is because I feel like I often am in situations where I can see the kind thing to do. And it might be harder and it might require effort or bravery, or there's a bit of fear because you don't want to look like an idiot, or you don't want to, I don't know. I can just feel a bit, maybe there's a bit of a shyness that comes over me and I don't want to do it. And I need something that gives me a kick up the bum every time I see those opportunities to just do something for someone else. And I think about like volunteering or donating or all these situations that I know that when I do them, I feel really good. And I've noticed as well that, you know, everything from the expressions on your face are mirrored by your child. And what's the thing that I want to
So you don't
model?
want Luna to have resting bitch face?
No, I don't. And I don't want her, because I know that I am a bit predisposed to being a little bit negative. And what I want is for her to see examples of kindness so that she does them. And so it's easy for her. I feel as though I'm in a position where I've been very selfish for a few years and very focused on myself, and that, you know, the word privilege gets thrown around a lot, but I feel very, very lucky and like I'm not doing enough to share that luck.
This is going to
with
be
other
one
people.
of those spooky years. I have a feeling. Let's
I do
see what
too.
Mia's going to say because, yeah. I think this might be one of those years where we're like, oh, there's a theme.
Well, I am going to just tell you my process because I have ideas about my words and then I'm always like, this is what I want to be my word of the year. I know I'm going to forget it.
And then you
And I
email it to
always
the
do.
producer
And
and
then
then you're like, not that one.
Yeah. And then it's like, no, it was a different one, but I forgot that one too. I'll just tell you my word and then I'll tell you how I got there. My word of the year for 2024 is grace.
Oh, that's such a good
Good
word.
one. Good one.
And some of the words that I rejected but that have helped me get to this because I realised they were all encapsulated and more was encapsulated by this word were flow or empathy. I really thought empathy was a very close to. The reason I came to grace was that I've been thinking about grace a lot since Julia Baird's book Bright Shining came out, and I spoke to her on No Filter and the way that she defines grace, because it can
Means
feel like a bit of a, what does it mean? And, you know, walking around with a book on your head and being deferential, like as a woman should have grace, like it can almost have negative connotations in some ways. But the way she says what it actually means, acts of kindness that aren't necessarily deserved or expected. So it's not about being kind to other lovely people or to being kind to the people you love. It's about showing grace with people who you don't know or people who don't deserve it because they're awful. It's about behaving in ways that you don't need to. Like the opposite of grace is not being a dick. The opposite of grace is just not having it. And I've thought about it a lot because, you know, it is an incredibly difficult time, and so much of, we've talked about it a lot behind the scenes on the show, We haven't talked about it a lot on the show because we haven't been able to find ways to, but there's been a lot of lack of grace in our public discourse over the last year about a lot of things. It seems like it is such a febrile, volatile, angry, polarizing time that grace is about taking a breath, you know.
And before you make a
behaving
decision.
in a different way.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I struggle with my ADHD is emotional regulation. I have big feelings, and grace is the opposite of having big feelings. Grace is about navigating through those big feelings just to show grace. Not be graceful, but show grace as an active verb. And so that's my word.
I love that. That's such a good word. Good word.
So,
all right, Holly, what's yours?
We're all a bit woo-woo soppy this year.
Well, I wonder why.
Because my word of the year is community.
Ooh, I love that.
So one of the reasons for this is, as Mia said, we're living in this moment. Like, it's become such a cliche to say we're living in this moment. We've actually been living in this moment for a while. It's just really, really spiked at the moment, the febrile nature of the silos we're living in particular. And one of the reasons I thought about community for my word is there are some sort of literal things in that it's been 2 years now since I've moved to a new place, and it takes a while to settle into a new place. And you're slowly building community, like literal community, as in getting to know the people who live in your small town. Can be as small as saying hello when you see them in the street or having that chat in the bakery or whatever it is. But you do really feel a sense of community. The thing that really pushed me on it was the referendum, because like many people, when the referendum result came in, which wasn't that surprising if you were paying attention, but was enormously surprising if you were living in your bubble on the internet. From my perspective, for example, I know that my most liked post of the entire year on Instagram was the one where I said I was voting yes, right? Just endless reinforcement, positive reinforcement. Everybody's like, yes, yes, we're all voting yes. Everybody's yes, 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 yes. We've begun to kid ourselves, I really think, that community exists online and that's the place it lives. And it is not, right? I'm not using this as my example because I think everyone should have voted yes and people who voted no are bad. It's not. It's just something that just really got me thinking about something. The community I live in, the electorate I live in was a no. There is an electorate just down the road where they got a yes by tens of votes, right? And they believe that what made the difference there was a literal door knocking, not angry yelling, not people yelling on social media, not people posting their sanctimonious views about things. I'm not suggesting for a minute that everybody was doing that. But conversations, real conversations with people who felt differently about different things that literally made a difference. In some instances, that was literally going door to door. In some instances, that was literally having to show grace, Mia, and listen to people who are saying, but I don't know if I feel that way. We've just lost the ability to do that, right? And so on a macro level, I feel like we need to stop kidding ourselves that we make a difference by saying the popular thing in an echo chamber and more opening ourselves up to our communities and listening to what people are really saying and having conversations that matter. And in a practical sense, it means I have to do, as Jessie was saying with her word kind, I need to be more involved. I am not a volunteer at school or any of those things. Brent does some of that for sure because I'm, focused on my work and, I'm writing and, I'm busy. And there are things this year that I've noticed, particularly with Billy's community, it would be much better if I was a bit more involved. Because, I'm building resilience, Mia, obviously, and letting him fly by the seat of his pants a lot. But also it kind of can sometimes blow back on us. I think I want my focus for the year to be thinking about that, to be thinking about how do we build actual communities that matter. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm Meals and Wheelsing or whatever, or maybe it does. But it's that opening your ears to other people around you and building real connections that actually make the world better. We know all the time that we talk about happiness and people have never been more anxious, more unhappy. And Jessie speaks a lot about this, about connections, and that's really what makes you happy. I think we have to stop just talking about it or thinking that you get it on your phone because that's making us all less happy, not more happy.
Do you know what community isn't? It isn't governed by an algorithm. I was just thinking about that. Like, even if you go to the homepage of a website, the articles that you read are about what's popular among those readers because that's what they need to write to be profitable. And, of course, everything you see on social media is governed by an algorithm, so it just feeds you more and more and more of what you already know, and that's how your bubble gets smaller and smaller. Podcasts are about communities in a way that's different to any other medium because it's intentional.
That's very true. And there is a community. I mean, I can be scathing about talking about online communities, but there are absolutely communities that build up around brands with purpose and podcasts with meaning.
Yeah, but I think also what being face-to-face does is that it bumps you up against people with different views in a way that humanizes those views. So if you are like your children's friends, for example, the community that you have around if you've got children and class parents or whatever it is, you bump up against people and you have to work as a group, even when you might vote very differently and you might have very different beliefs about certain things, but you'll also have common beliefs about other things. And I think that that's what makes a vibrant community is those little differences.
100%. And I think that we only make things
it's a beautiful word.
Better by listening to each other and helping each other in that way of grace, Mia, that aren't necessarily like, do you think like me? Do you vote like me?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you, Julia Baird said in that interview, she's like, before you help a man who's fallen over in the street, are you going to say, did you vote for Trump? Like, obviously we're not, but, or whatever. How did you vote in the referendum? Like that. It's not getting us anywhere, this intense polarization. And so in a small way, I think that what can make differences, and lots of people studying this, is what you're doing in your actual community. So this year, I want to focus a little bit less on me and a little bit more on building those connections out. Look at us with our kind and our grace and our community. Why are we coming to the end of this year with all the woo-woo?
There's so many things that have happened this year where there's a lot of posturing that goes on and a lot of scolding and a lot of yelling. If any of that were working, we'd be in a different place to where we are right now. It actually seems like it's getting much worse. And a lot of that is being done without grace and without kindness. And I think that that's probably what feels like we're missing. I feel like in the past my words have been so self-involved, but there's a shift because I think the other stuff where you look outwards, you go, oh, yeah, next year. It's like if it's not immediate, then that's where the regret will live, I suppose. It's like that's where you get the real joy from.
Outlouders, of course we want to hear what your words of the year are. We want to hear in the Facebook group. You want to hear what you think about ours. We just want to hear how you're doing. 2023 has been challenging for many of us. How are we going to go into 2024 with some hope? Tell us. We'll be back in your ears in a regular way at the end of January, but between now and then, if you are missing us, we are still dropping episodes for subscribers. Twice a week, you will find a segment with Mia and Jessie and I in your feed. Just follow the link in the show notes to become a subscriber if you're not one already. And if you are one already, thank you so much for supporting us and the work that we do. We can't wait to share another year with you.
It's a good time to become a subscriber because there are hundreds of episodes you won't have listened to yet. The back catalogue is sitting there. So go and join us if you're missing us in your ears.
Thank you for listening to Australia's #1 news and pop culture show. The episode was produced by Emeline Gazilas. The assistant producer is Tahli Blackman, with audio production by Leah Porges. And thank you for starting your new year with us. We absolutely love that you do that.
Happy New Year, Outlouders.
Bye.
Bye.